When it comes to our political system, I think the OJs put it best when they said money, 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 money. That is what it's all about. And to prove the point, this is just typical of dozens of articles we've been seeing lately, but the one that struck this rant and the OJ's quote, which I got a little wrong. It's actually money, 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 money. But anyway, I was close. The one that triggered it could have been any one of the dozens we've seen, but this one was an article by Derek Willis in the Upshot on the New York Times, their economic column, and it was Scott Walker's Strength in Donors. And it begins, opening paragraph just to get us started. Scott Walker enters the Republican presidential race with far stronger ties to the party's biggest fundraiser than any other candidate besides Jeb Bush. Okay. Here's what we're getting down to. No, it's a great piece of reporting, by the way. I'm very impressed with it. And, he says that about half of the nation's top 250 GOP donors have given money to Scott Walker in his campaigns for governor. Now, they went through the Federal Election Commission records, and, what it missed, of course, was dark money. But even so, we find that, look, he's got 50% inroads with the really big money guys. We're talking about the Sheldon Adelsons and so on, as opposed to Marco Rubio has gotten about 30% of them. Ted Cruz has gotten about 20% of them. Chris Christie has gotten about 10% of them. Now, here's what bothers me about this. Certainly not the reporting, which is terrific. It's a nice piece of analysis. But the idea that we are now handicapping presidential races, not based on the candidate's positions, not based on public opinion polls, not based on how he might do with this constituency or that constituency, with this state or that state, with labor or business, but strictly on his ability to raise money. Now, this is equally true on the Democratic side, where money fundraising has become a big part of the presidential primary story there as well, with Hillary Clinton certainly the outstanding favorite. But the point is this: it's not even at this point about individual politicians. It's about, we're facing a future in this country. In fact, we've already reached it to a large extent, where political reporting is now something that belongs on the business pages. Political reporting is not going to be an independent discipline pretty soon. It's just going to be another analysis in wealth tracking. And that's to the extent that we can even do political reporting, because the truth of the matter is this: most of the money now is off the Federal Election Commission's radar. Now, Scott Walker is the perfect example of what you get in a politician when you have money calling the shots, when the real primaries are the fundraising primaries and not the primaries in which American men and women vote. Scott Walker is the perfect example of the way money, think of it as money is input into a computer program. The money from the different special interests and billionaires goes in one end, and what comes out the other end is a kind of android candidate that's been programmed to reflect the interests of the people in whom the money has been presented. Scott Walker, perfect example of that. He is the candidate of the future. Scott Walker, as governor of Wisconsin, has become the android money candidate of the future. Here's what I mean by that. Scott Walker, as John Nichols told us last week, began as something of a political reformer, but he was above all else personally ambitious. And for example, when Scott Walker first ran for governor, he said nothing about right-to-work legislation or going after the public sector unions in that state. And yet, when it came time to be a candidate, when he went into, think of it, you remember how the Jetsons used to get dressed in the morning? They'd get on a conveyor belt and they'd go through this thing that would kind of suck the shirts and pants onto them and all that. Well, that's what Scott Walker did as a candidate, except the conveyor belt was the money conveyor belt. And they told him, you know what, you're going to be a right-to-work candidate once you get into office. So he signed into law right-to-work legislation. Now, what is right-to-work legislation? It's not really about rights at all. It's what some Republican phrase master named it. Right-to-work means union-crushing legislation. Now, think of what he's going to do once he becomes president of the United States. Think of what Marco Rubio is going to do, because the candidate who wins, make no mistake about it, under our system is going to be the candidate who raises the most money, especially on the Republican side, but probably in the election overall. So once the money primaries are over, think about the android that comes out the other side and ask yourself, is that person going to really represent my interests? And ask yourself, more importantly, is that the kind of government I want? Is that really democracy? I don't think it is. I don't think you think so either. So it's on us to become activists for public financing of elections sooner rather than later. I'm RJ Eskow, and this is The Zero Hour.